Well, welcome to the webinar, everyone. We're excited to have you today. This is the eSkill webinar, Creating Barrier-Free Hiring Opportunities for Large Volume Recruitment. And we are thrilled to have our 2022 Talent Impact Leader, Daria Probetts, Talent Acquisition Advisor with Canadian Nuclear Laboratories. This is a business that is very specialized, and she's going to be talking about some really great strategies that they've used to create barrier-free hiring opportunities. So when you have dozens or even hundreds of open positions, finding the time to comb through each candidate's qualifications can be a struggle, as you all know. Equally challenging is recruiting and evaluating candidates to fill specialist positions. So in this webinar, Darian is going to share her experience with high volume recruitment and how she utilizes eSkill's Client Success Manager to develop the most valuable time-saving skills tests, evaluate the data, and build custom assessments that reduce barriers for candidates. Darian is the Talent Acquisition Advisor for Canadian Nuclear Laboratories. She's responsible for fulfilling all recruitment needs through full cycle recruitment, sourcing, and workforce planning. She has experience with both high volume recruitment and niche markets and is currently filling more than 100 open positions at the same time. She understands the challenges in the current hiring environment and analyzes both retention and recruitment strategies. Darian loves positively impacting those around her and enjoys helping candidates find their dream jobs, which you definitely would need to if you were in her role. She has a wealth of information and experience and is an exceptional problem solver and is excited to share her insights with you. So I'm going to turn it over to Darian, but of our hundreds of people who are on the webinar, please put your questions in the chat, not in the Q&A, but in the chat, and we will get to those at the end of the webinar. We're excited to have you, Darian. Here you go.
Thanks, Sheila. Hi, everyone. My name is Darian. I'm very excited to be presenting with you today on hiring and high volume recruitment. I've been working in recruitment for over 5 years now. I first started working in recruitment when I was in the military. It quickly became a passion of mine and I transitioned into civilian public sector work. I went and got my degree in HR and I worked in a healthcare setting where my focus was primarily working with healthcare workers. Almost 2 years ago now, I joined Canadian Nuclear Labs and their talent team, and I started working primarily recruiting for business management and engineering. Today, I oversee all the hiring for our health, safety, security, and environment branch for Canadian Nuclear Labs, Chalk River. And my branch has over 700 positions, and as Sheila mentioned, I manage anywhere from 50 to over 100 requisitions at a time. Yeah. Perfect. So to give you some background information on the organization that I'm going to be discussing today, Canadian Nuclear Labs, also known as CNL, offers a large variety of career opportunities across multiple locations across Canada. So while we are a science and technology organization, we heavily rely on our supporting roles. So we're a self-sufficient site at our main location in Chalk River, Ontario, which is one of the sites that I help support, in that we do have our own security force and fire department. We have over 3,000 employees, and each recruiter also has anywhere from 50 to 100 jobs open at a time. Right now, I believe we have over 300 jobs posted right now on our external job page. But 75% of our organization are roles within trades, logistics, supply chain, administrative, and management roles, as well as technical. So due to the wide range of career opportunities that we have, it's really important that we have the right people and the right jobs to continue to meet our goals and objectives. However, like any other organization, we here at CNL also face hiring barriers. So hiring new employees is essential for any company that wants to grow and succeed. We all know this. However, the hiring process can often be full of obstacles and a bit slow depending on the organization. This can also lead to numerous adverse outcomes. So for example, a slow hiring process will likely lead to losing top candidates and a poor candidate experience, which we always want to have candidates have the best experience possible to give them a good outlook as to what they can expect within the organization. So in addition, the longer an important position stays vacant, the more productivity a company also loses. And of course, leaving an important role open for so long also leads to increased hiring costs. So the great news is that all these obstacles can easily be overcome if you promptly identify those barriers. So let's discuss those barriers. The first is not attracting the right candidates. Oh, sorry, just going a little bit back there. Thanks, Sheila. Most commonly in these situations, the job posting is to blame. So a poorly written job description or perhaps vague requirements can lead to a large number of unqualified candidates. By ensuring you have a clear and concise job description, you'll be able to quickly notice the difference in the candidates that you're attracting. Candidates also becoming disengaged. If you're not responding to candidates quickly, or providing information and updates, and building those relationships, it can become very easy for candidates to become disengaged in the hiring process, especially when we're seeing a market with more vacancies than there are job seekers. Therefore, it's really important to build that relationship so that there's a good chance that that candidate will choose your organization, because there's a good chance you're probably not the only organization considering that candidate. Also, a slow hiring process. In organizations which require an extensive hiring process due to government regulation or external stakeholders, such as our organization, this can often result in candidates needing to jump multiple hurdles to be considered. And in this market, time is not usually on the recruiter's side. Also having a small pool of candidates. Another common barrier in the hiring process is having too small of a candidate pool to choose from. Again, this can happen for multiple reasons, but the most common is that the company is not using enough channels to reach potential candidates, or not attracting the right candidates, or not utilizing effective tools when trying to create these pools. Now, I don't know if anybody else is experiencing this, but manual data and application entry. This can be one of the most tedious and time-consuming tasks in the hiring process, is manually entering that data into your applicant tracking system. It's often completed after each transaction for the roles that you're looking to fill, but this can be very, very burdensome on the team and the employees and also the candidates, because it really does extend the hiring process. And then lastly is the financial burdens. In order to ensure that you have the right candidate, there may be requirements to provide proof of certification or exam completion. Unfortunately, these often do include a cost on the candidate, which can also deter candidates from applying, as there's no guarantee of job security should these qualifications even be met. So how does eSkill fit into this? So eSkill has been used for approximately 2 years at CNL and has proven to be a really vital component in our training requirements. So when COVID-19 restrictions hit, it really did limit our in-person gatherings, thus limiting the ability for our departments to provide in-person instruction and testing. So even as we move back to a more normal state, eSkill has provided the ability to fill the testing gap and then continue to allow for virtual instruction for all of our sites, which help maintain our testing integrity, and then the ability to utilize special proctoring software as required. So today we utilize eSkill to create our hiring pools for our radiation protection, administrative assistance, regulatory affairs, legal, HR, and engineering. And we're also going to be looking at implementing it with our nuclear security officers in the near future. So we've been able to customize our testing specific to our roles as employment aptitude testing, with some of the tests being proctored as well. So our radiation protection department has also integrated eSkill into their in-house 9-month training program, which allows us to evaluate the employee's knowledge at each stage of their program and determine where if there's any testing gaps or training gaps, and we'll be able to ensure that they are meeting the specified requirements of the role. And then it also allows for simulation questions to replicate the work environment. So we're also looking at implementing another eSkill pre-employment test that I mentioned for our nuclear security officers. The goal is that this is going to replace an external exam that costs them over $200 to complete. So this will also save a lot of money for candidates, and it'll also be controlled by the organization and any other external stakeholders that have involvement within that exam. So being able to work with our client success manager has helped us design these exams alongside with the department's subject matter experts, and been able to be proven extremely beneficial in our hiring process and cost effective. So utilizing eSkill, how we've removed these barriers, we've been able to attract the right candidates based on the results that we were noticing in our testing stages. So the testing data that quickly allowed us to identify the areas of skills that our candidates were lacking. For our regulatory affairs roles, we found that the initial set of candidates that were coming in, they actually weren't meeting the passing standard for our exam. So we went back and amended the experience and qualifications and the skills that we were looking for to ensure they would be successful in that test, because we had designed the test to be very much aligned with the requirements of the role. Another example is for attracting the right candidates was when our organization had upgraded our Microsoft Office suite. We needed to ensure that our administrators or administrative assistants were familiar with the new layout and the features of this upgrade. So we had contacted our eSkill Client Success Manager, and we were able to work with them to ensure that all of our question banks in our testing was upgraded to the correct version as well. So as I mentioned, we also run our 9-month in-house program for our radiation surveyors in the radiation protection department. So it's really important that we ensure our candidates are successful. So the pre-employment test that we provide to all of our qualified candidates that they must pass gives us a better understanding that they'll be successful in the long run in this 9-month program prior to them receiving an offer in the interview. So then that way, if they're successful in the program, it's successful for the organization as well. And it also does save money knowing that they're going to be successful and overall happier in the organization because they know what they're signing themselves up for and they have a better understanding. So by utilizing eSkill in the initial hiring stages, candidates are engaged knowing that they had an opportunity to show the organization what they were capable of and what they would be bringing to the organization, rather than the pressure being solely on their interview capabilities, which we know this can put a lot of pressure on candidates. This is also why having an interview guide specific to each role is also crucial. So therefore, the time you put into the testing design really does pay off. And for us as recruiters, the biggest benefit is the valuable time that's been saved. So because eSkill results are available immediately upon completion of the testing, we're able to proceed to the next appropriate steps right away. So for our admin assistant positions, this means having the results, being able to categorize each candidate appropriately on their skill level results to the appropriate job level that we here have at CNL. So we continue to test all of our applicants who meet the minimum requirements, ensure they maintain a pool of qualified candidates, and then keep our internal and external pool constantly expanding. The testing also prepares candidates, again, what to expect for the role that they've applied for. The great thing about eSkill is that it's also a product that can communicate with Taleo, which if you have an ATS product, it might be compatible with it as well. So you can create an eSkill assessment that gets attached to your requisition, and then that gets sent to each candidate who applies. And results are integrated into the candidate's profile, which makes it easier in determining whether they're suitable candidates. And then it also decreases the need to manually enter data and having the attached to the candidate's profile. So the ability to test candidates virtually has removed the need to arrange candidates to come to site and to complete the exam created and authorized by the organization, which in turn reduces candidates' out-of-pocket costs. It also reduces the cost of travel and then any costs associated with completing any of the external exams and qualifications. As mentioned, we're looking at implementing that with some of our nuclear security officers to reduce a cost of over $200. So this shows them that we're invested in them as employees and that they know that we will continue to invest in them as an organization. So eSkill has proven to be a really great tool alongside our other tools that we here have at CNL. It partners with us in our programs to help remove these barriers in our hiring process. While the initial design of the test may be a bit time-consuming, your client success manager is incredibly knowledgeable in finding and creating the right questions for what you're trying to achieve. Therefore, the time that you put into the testing design really does pay off. For that, as the recruiters, is our biggest benefit, time. So with that, I would like to thank Sheila and everyone at eSkill for providing this opportunity to present to you all today. Finding solutions in large volume recruitment is really something I'm passionate about. With having so many requisitions on at a time, trying to reduce the amount of time that candidates spend within the hiring process is such a goal for us because we really want to ensure that they have a really good candidate experience. So I'm really thankful for everyone who attended today, and I'd really be happy to hear any questions that you may have regarding this presentation.
Thanks, Darian. That was great and very comprehensive.
Thank you.
So just tell us a little bit, while folks are putting their questions into the chat, tell us a little bit more about CNL and these specialized roles. So, for example, I would imagine getting nuclear security folks, that's a difficult role to fill. So kind of talk a little bit about what that was like before and now how after using eSkill that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with, first of all, our radiation protection department was The first people that we actually introduced eSkill with were radiation surveyors, health physicists, and contamination monitors. And this was largely when, COVID had hit and we needed to find a solution to allow for virtual testing and proctoring abilities, because we really wanted to ensure that they continued with their training program. We didn't disrupt the plan, and that they would be able, after the 9-month program, they'd still be able to go right into the role, even in the midst of COVID. So when we first implemented it, we started with testing for just the general knowledge of skills. So a lot of those roles require a lot of math skills. So when we went to the subject matter experts within the departments and to our eSkill client success manager, we broke down what it is that our exams look like for the 9-month training program for each module, and how was that going to be implemented into our initial testing. So we knew that there was going to be some portions of that testing that we ourselves would train them on, but they needed to have a basic understanding of certain types of chemistry and mathematics just to get through the first set of trials, I would say. So from there, we designed that test. And then once we found that that was successful in our results from what we were seeing for our candidates in the 9-month program, we implemented it into the actual training program for each module. So when they went through module 1, they would do the exam, we would see the results, make sure that everybody was passing. If there was any training gaps that we were seeing, maybe perhaps on our end or within the testing itself. So we were able to identify those right away, and then we implemented it to the rest of our radiation protection department. So our contamination monitors and our health physicists were provided it afterwards.
So eSkill is great both for your administrative positions, which a lot of people think of skills tests in particular for administrative positions, but you were able to customize eSkills tests for some pretty complicated stuff. And as you mentioned, it saved money for another test that you were using that was $200 a piece. So at the volume that you're doing with 300 open recs, this is saving you tens of thousands of dollars a year, right?
It really is, yes. And having the results right away has been fantastic. We have a couple of other groups that we are going to be transitioning over to eSkill, where the tests have to go to another organization and we have to wait for the results, and that can take, up to a week. Whereas with eSkill, we have the results right away, and I can move right into the selection piece right after that based on their results. So that is really fantastic to have, because with being a government regulated organization, our hiring process already takes a while, especially when it comes to security clearances. So if we can cut back any of those delays, we're going to do it. We're going to take it, because we want the best candidate experience.
Because certainly at that level of position, those people are being courted by many different companies, and you do need to move quickly in order to get them.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely. And we have a lot of competitive companies in the surrounding area, so we do have to keep that in mind, that if they're faster in their recruiting process, they're probably going to get them before us.
Mm-hmm.
So yes,
so
always.
Talk a little bit about what it's been like to work with your eSkill client success manager. So this is a dedicated person who's there to help you at every step of the way in deciding which tests you want to do, getting the test set up, getting them customized, getting them implemented. What's that experience been like?
It's been fantastic. So when I first came on and worked with eSkill, the client success manager set me up. They booked an appointment with me, and we went through how to utilize eSkill, what its functions were, how to customize it. The job bank is incredible. It's huge. So sometimes I found it really difficult to find exactly what I was looking for, so they were able to help me with that. And then because I'm a one-woman show right now within my department, that I do lean on my administrative assistants for support as well. So just help sending out tests when I need the additional support. So my eSkill manager was able to get my admin assistant set up to be able to access the tests without accessing or manipulating any results or anything like that. So providing that limited access just to provide support to HR. And then also giving additional abilities like proctoring services has been really great, because we've just recently implemented that with our radiation surveyor testing as well, just because we found that we weren't able to bring them to site with some of the restrictions and security clearances. So this allowed us to continue on with the hiring process without, before we'd have to book like a conference room off-site somewhere. We don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, the proctoring's been amazing, how it's been able to help you reach so many more people and still validate and be compliant with what you need to do for those roles.
Yes, exactly. It's been fantastic, and I love working with our client success manager. We've had 2 now. They've both been fantastic. They've been really resourceful and helpful at finding the right questions and how to word a question based on what the results that we're trying to receive. So that's been wonderful.
So what is the main thing that you share with your company's leadership team about how your process has changed since starting to work with eSkill?
Our recruitment time has decreased, which I'm very thankful for. Our data entry has decreased, again, something I'm very thankful for. Knowing that it's being able to be integrated with Taleo means a lot to us. That is something that we're going to be looking at more as we are building Taleo to become our new ATS. So that's a really great useful tool. But just being able to have those results right away, and I can contact the candidate, you know, like they wrote the exam in the morning, I contact them in the afternoon and let them know whether or not they're successful, and how to properly prepare for the next portion of the exam or the next portion of the recruitment process. So really, like, you can't put a number on that, because at the end of the day, we really just want the candidate to have a great experience and have a good understanding of what to expect at CNL, because we really do want to invest in our employees.
Absolutely. Well, Darian, you are so inspiring, because it's just phenomenal, the number of requisitions that you handle. 100 yourself, you know, you're doing 300 at any one time with really sophisticated, high-level, white-collar positions. You are doing it in a way that you are very focused on the candidate experience, as well as making it efficient for you and your very, very small team. You have built a system and leveraged eSkill to help you achieve your goals faster. Personally, what's been the best thing about this whole experience for you?
Personally, the best thing about eSkill, having the results right away and being able to go back and look at like a very detailed breakdown as to how long it's taking candidates to complete these tests. What is it? A good expectation of the candidates. You know, where are they struggling? How can we help improve them on that process? And then really, like for the regulatory affairs role, we went back and were able to modify our job description, which as recruiters, like, it's a lot of, I find, figuring out what's working and what's not, and sometimes that takes a long time. So when we have a test that tells us, you know, they're not meeting this type of standard, how do we make sure that they meet that standard? What extra skills or qualifications do we need? It's a lot easier to kind of pinpoint where the issue is with our posting, rather than kind of playing the guessing game and seeing what candidates are coming in from there. So that has really helped us.
Just the intelligence that the tests are giving you, which can also be helpful in training once you do hire them and bring them on, because you will know where their skill gaps are.
Exactly. Great. Yes.
Well, this has been an incredible time with you, Darian. I know it was frustrating with the computer difficulties, yes, but you did a phenomenal job. We've had over 100 people engaged, fully engaged throughout the webinar, and we just thank you so much for your time today, for your partnership with eSkill, and for sharing your story, because that's really what helps all of us in HR be more effective, is by learning from each other. So many of us have great ideas. So we are thrilled that you are one of our 2022 Talent Impact Leaders, and thank you so much for your time today. Everyone who's attended, we will share the on-demand or recorded version of this webinar next week, so you'll be able to review it again or share it with your colleagues. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.